best moments of my sports year. So I was really impressed with their failure, and I was really impressed with Ant-Man basically saying Ant-Man, Batman, Superman, Lakers in 5, and then beating them in 5. So I really enjoyed that last night.
I fully understand. Lakers they're like the Yankees, and so they're like you either hate them or love them.
I used to love them, and
not anymore.
I might love them again one day.
No, I was surprised that they didn't win the first round. Minnesota's pretty good, but to be honest, they looked old. Luka looked beat up physically, and
out of
LeBron
condition.
looked like a 40-year-old last night.
Yes, it's a young man's game. I think the torch is being passed, and I think that some of the players need to understand that. It's time to kind of hang them up.
Well, one of my two teams is done. The Milwaukee Bucks had probably the worst ending to a game that I have ever seen. I must say, they blew a 7-point lead with 45 seconds to go.
Right.
And now the talk of the entire offseason
is going to be Giannis.
Yes. And it's a tough decision for them because, they could get a tremendous haul if they want to trade him. They don't have any draft picks for the next 5 years.
Wow.
They traded every number one draft, so a rebuild is not so easy. But boy, how do you trade what may be
your best player?
Well, not only the best, I think the best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
But one of the best players, top 5 players in the history of the NBA. How do you trade somebody like that in their prime? And
I agree.
And I will say this. Giannis is one of the most decent human beings and athletes I've ever met.
Great on the court and off the court. Really good guy. And like you said, a real linchpin to even keeping things going in Milwaukee. So
it's going to be an interesting offseason.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But all eyes tonight.
Here too in New Orleans as well.
Yes. Wouldn't that be interesting? Is Giannis to New Orleans for about 6 years of number one picks?
We have a great group of people here in New Orleans. He'd be welcome.
I'm sure he would. Look at you trying to recruit him.
I'm recruiting. Come here,
Crescent City already.
Come down.
Well, let's. Now I can only hope for the New York Knicks because my son works for them. Please let the Knicks win in 6 tonight and end the series because the Pistons are tough, man.
They're really tough.
They're like the Pistons of 25 years ago.
Right.
They're physical and mean, and so New York really needs to wrap this series up and not play anymore. All right. So to my good friend who I know is still listening and who preceded our show tonight. And unfortunately, you had to carry the show last night. Mr. Gerard Stevens. Mr. Irresponsible Gerard Stevens. No, I only say that with half heart.
This is a show business feud developing, people.
He went on air yesterday. Of course, it was at the end of his show. And I wasn't on last night. I was taking an evening off to attend some things. And he threw out to the public in the audience that there was this rumor out there that there was a certain guy who had been council president many years ago and that person was going to run for the mayorship in a few months.
There you go.
And he justified it by saying that he had asked the question and he never got a no answer. So therefore, he felt justified in going public to the entire New Orleans demographic and indicating that Arnie Filko was about ready to declare for the mayorship.
Wow.
And
he had a scoop. He had a political scoop.
He did. And you know what's really sad, Cary, more than anything, is no one called your show last night
to say, is that
to
true?
ask the question. It's like, so I want to be the first tonight, Mr. Stevens, Mr. Gerard Stevens. I want to be the first tonight to tell you unequivocally, without any doubt, without any hesitation, that this broadcaster is not, let me say that again, is not, N-O-T, running for mayor in 2025, 2026, and probably likely 2030. All right? Now.
That pretty much covers it.
That pretty much covers it. I think that says it all. Now, I do want to get serious about something on this. It was the honor of my life, Cary,
Yes.
to be on the city council, twice elected, and the president of the council after Katrina.
Yeah.
Of all the positions I've ever held, and we're going to hear from a gentleman later on tonight that we started our career together in sports, of all the positions I've ever held, by far and away the most gratifying was being elected to the city council. Yeah. And it truly was the honor of my life and something I will never forget. And the reality is, we need right now change in the city. We need reform. We need to move this city forward. In my opinion, we need younger.
I agree.
And we need vision.
Yes.
And I'm saying this in all seriousness. As much as I would love to be back in the game politically, because I really did enjoy it, and there is nothing like being elected and to sit on the dais and to be able to make decisions, hopefully for the good of the public. The reality is that I think we have some excellent candidates. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing them, hearing their vision, because this city needs some real advancement in the next mayor. And so for that reason, I am going to be involved, but I'm going to be very involved, not as a candidate. I'm going to be very involved, hopefully, watching the candidates, seeing what they're doing, what they're saying, who has the best vision for this community. And hopefully come October, we are going to elect, a really terrific leader that's going to move this city forward. Because I'm sorry to say this, but the last 8 years have been unsuccessful, okay?
Yes.
And people are disgusted. They're fed up. They want something different right now. And I think it's up to the people that are running for office to give that vision to the public and to tell them how we can move the city forward, because you and I think both agree on this. New Orleans is the greatest city in the world.
Yes.
I mean, it has some of the best assets, the greatest cultural things, but we just cannot do the basic stuff. And it's time that we start to do basic stuff like every city does. And
that's correct.
If we can do that, just imagine what the future of the city could be.
Yeah, the idea of public services is greatly a part of both of our backgrounds. And what I agree with you totally about is we all should be involved deeply in this election, just paying attention to what the issues are, asking questions, being out there. This is a real turning point election. We've lost a lot of ground and we have to catch up on a lot of things. Participating in the process is very important. And we both have participated in the process of actual governing. So we know what it takes to do that. We've given our part for God and country in that part, but we know what it takes to run the place as well. So we want the best that can happen, and we're going to try and help that conversation
Absolutely. Along. Let's take Mr. Elmore's on the line. Mr. Elmore, how are you tonight?
Hey, man, how you doing?
I am good. Wonderful. How about you?
Always a pleasure. Look, you made a very good point. The thing with running for any political position, for what I could see, is winning is one thing and knowing how to keep is another. And I think that I don't want to embarrass you. You were a leader in the sense not only that you were a leader, not a follower, but you know how to communicate with people, man. You know how to bring people together. That's what people. That's why people like you, not because you had a great personality. You knew how to talk to folk. Everybody understood that. That's not something that that's something that's in you as a person, bro. So to give yourself more credit than you give yourself. You was a leader. You work with others. You help with all races, cultures, religion, what have you. You was good at that. You were great at that. So if anybody want to follow your lead, hey man, be kind of like. Don't want to embarrass you. Be like you.
Well, that's Mr. Elmore. That's really nice of you to say. All right, I've decided to reverse my decision and run for it. No, I'm kidding. I really appreciate it. But you said something really important, and there's a lot of people that run for office for different reasons. Okay, they like running for office. They like the politics. They like what comes with
being in office.
Being in the office.
Yeah.
But they don't so much like governance, okay, and actually working the job.
Yes.
And we've had some history of that. We just can't afford it anymore. we've got to have people that not only want to run for office, but when they win and get into office, that they are really going to roll their sleeves up and work
do
hard.
the work.
Because
Yes.
the word public servant means a lot. It means that, people don't work for you. It means
You
that
work for
you
them.
are working for the public.
Yes.
And I think we got to kind of get back to that. But I really appreciate your comments. You are very kind. And, call in again. We'd love to hear from you, hopefully, next week.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, the thing that you brought up is when you say public servant, I think we all could be public servants. You don't have to have a federal,
That's
state,
true.
or
That's very true.
municipality job to be a servant of the people. So I've always tried to be helpful, because in the work that I do, you have to be able to serve people.
Yes.
Absolutely, you're 100% right. 100% right. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And, keep listening tonight. We got a good show.
Thank you, Cary. All right, bro.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank
All right,
man.
Mr.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
All right. Cary, let's hit a few topics.
Sure.
We got, again, in the second half of the hour, we are going to have Mr. Alex Vergara, who is a world-renowned sports guy, sports expert. We're going to talk about his background and lots of things. Alex is a beautiful guy and in town for Jazz Fest, so we're going to have the benefit of hearing from him tonight. Couple things, Cary, that I wanted to talk about. First of all, I'm very excited. I saw that we finally this summer are going to have the train line, Amtrak,
Yeah, that's
running to
great
Mobile.
news. Great
Yeah.
news. The Mardi Gras line.
The Mardi Gras line, exactly.
Like
That's
that.
what it's called, and we
Great
haven't
name.
had that since Katrina.
Yeah,
You used to run all the way to Jacksonville.
right.
Now we'll be happy to have it go to Mobile, but I think that'll be a lot of fun. A lot of stops in Mississippi along the Gulf Coast, and
It'll be great for our tourism because we have a lot of people who spend summer vacations in on the Gulf Coast and the like, and that's a great way to travel.
yeah, absolutely.
Especially for the kids. I think kids will love that.
It's fun to take
I
the
really
train,
believe
yeah.
they will.
Yeah, for those that haven't taken Amtrak, it is really fun. I used to take it a lot because I hated to fly. Now I fly, but it's still a lot of fun if you could do it. Cary, I saw a couple things coming out of Baton Rouge and the session that's ongoing right now. One was a piece of legislation that I read, and it was almost a double take. This is House Bill 101 by State Representative Nicholas Muscarella from Hammond, Republican from Hammond,
Yeah.
that wants to repeal the compensation fund. Maybe you saw this
Yeah.
story.
Yes.
For those individuals who were
Wrongly.
convicted of a crime.
Yeah.
Now these are not guilty people. Okay, these are people that have been guilty, that have now been exonerated legally. Okay, and in the state of Louisiana, we have a fund that allows our state to compensate, I guess is the right word, somebody that was incarcerated. And I just read this. First of all, the amount of money at the end of the day is fairly de minimis, okay, of what we're dealing with. But it's just hard to believe that our legislature, with all of the issues
things
we
that we
have
have to
as a
deal with,
state
right,
going on,
right.
in the economy and other things, that we would want to take away a financial benefit to somebody that has been wronged.
Yes.
I mean, I don't understand that.
Yeah, it when I saw it, I like you said, a lot of these things you have to do a double take because you're like, why is somebody even focused on something like this? The issue that I have is the biggest thing facing the legislature right now is not even the budget, is everybody is concerned about the insurance crisis and actually doing something with that, including the governor who seems to be at odds with his own insurance commissioner over how to handle that.
And we're gonna talk about that.
So that the issue, like you said, of something that when somebody is proven to have been wronged and has to have compensation because basically we've stolen years from their lives, is just flat out wrong. I mean, this is something that would help people along, and we've seen people who've gotten their names cleared, and this has really helped them to get on their feet, and it's just not right. It's not even a thing that they should be focused on.
Yeah, well, it went through committee, and it's apparently now passed to the full House. What bothers me well, first of all, just conceptually it bothers
Yeah.
me. But the other thing is what the author and also our state attorney general said is that, well, they can get compensation through federal law. Okay. There's something called Section 1983 of the Civil Rights Act that allows somebody to collect federally, when there's a violation of civil rights.
Yes.
The problem is that, first of all, experts have said and testified to the fact that getting a 1983 claim is very difficult.
Right.
And it may or may not actually cover an exoneration like what we're talking about.
Right.
And then the other thing that was said is that, well, we want to eliminate the state fund, but it doesn't mean that the parish can't pay for it. And I'm thinking and then they kind of use the example, and I think this really set some people off because it had a racial aspect to it. Well, why should North Louisiana, why should Monroe pay for New Orleans when the New Orleans district attorney makes an error? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds great, but for two things. When somebody is prosecuted, it's not the parish of Orleans
It's
versus
the state of Louisiana.
It's the state of Louisiana.
Yes.
And if, in fact, you want to put it on the parish and decentralize it, that's fine. Let's do that. But you know what? Let's do it across the board so that when we look at sales taxes for the state of Louisiana, we'll just keep our sales
portion,
taxes right here in New Orleans. We will be more than happy to do that.
Yes, our 2/3 won't go to you anymore. And let's see how you make out on that.
I mean, just, again, you kind of wonder some of these arguments sometimes. I mean, what motivates people? I guess the biggest thing is, who in their right mind would even be focused on taking away a fund that's
already existing?
That's already existing, and it's a fund to help somebody because we, the state, made a mistake. I saw this gentleman, he was on the TV news a couple nights ago. He must be almost 80. Okay, I mean, he was an elderly gentleman. He got released a decade ago. The first thing he did is he hugged his mom, who's since passed away.
Yeah.
And they asked him, they said, what was it like? He said it was the greatest feeling in the world after spending all this time in Angola to be declared a free person and to be able to hug my mom. Okay. You're going to take a little bit of money away from that after we've done that injustice to him?
And the other thing is, let's face it, I mean, we don't have that many exonerations that clear somebody's name in the course of a year. So it's not like it's thousands of people who are going to get served by this fund.
You're right. You're exactly right. And that's why I said, I mean, the amount of money when you look at the overall state budget is nothing. The other criminal justice piece that I wanted to bring up, because for Saints fans, they may remember Malcolm Jenkins,
yes,
who played here in New Orleans. And Malcolm has always been very much into social justice. And so he wrote an op-ed a few days ago, very interesting op-ed, talking about non-unanimous juries, which is, as you know, a couple of years ago with the leadership of Senator Duplessis and others, we have eliminated that.
Right.
We were one of only two states, us and Oregon, that allowed for non-unanimous juries to convict someone.
Right.
That doesn't exist anymore. But when they passed the law, it was not retroactive.
Right.
And what Jenkins is saying is that if we're really going to address wrongdoing, we really should be looking at making it retroactive.
Right.
And that it doesn't, it doesn't preclude, a district attorney from refiling charges if the statute of limitations is still available. But I think there's some sense in that. Again, I understand the pushback would be, well, you could reopen cases going back decades, and that could be problematic. But again, my feeling is this: there's either right or wrong. Just like when you exonerated an individual who was wrongfully convicted, if a gentleman or a woman was convicted not by a unanimous jury, and that is the law now in 49 states, should we not also look into the past of that and have the same result? That's kind of my feeling on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that needs to be looked into, and maybe some sort of solution can be worked out. But as you said, it's something to keep on the radar. I think what Malcolm's doing more than anything else is just making sure that it stays in front of people. That as an issue.
Yeah, because it's kind of been out of the news for the last couple of years.
Since they changed that law, we haven't talked much about anything else about it at all.
Yeah, I would like to hear. Maybe we'll bring on as a guest, those that may be on the other side of that, and to hear, because there is another side. But
Sure.
but again, sometimes I think when you have wrong, it's wrong,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't be based upon the timing of it. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a quick break? We'd love to hear from you tonight. 504-582-9422. Give us your thoughts on any of the topics we're talking about. We're gonna come back for the next couple minutes to talk a little bit about insurance.
Yes.
Big issue.
We'll be right
Be back in a minute.
New Orleans, are you ready for a voice that says what you're thinking? Who that, you might ask? Arrington Gavin. That's right, I'm your guy, host of the Arrington Gavin Show. And I'm so excited to announce that I'm coming to WBOK, giving you so much filled with bold opinions, real conversations, and zero sugarcoating. We're going to be diving into the issues that matter, politics, pop culture, and all the above, unfiltered and unafraid. So, starting May 5th, catch the Arrington Gavin Show, weeknights from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Fridays, right here on WBOK, what New Orleans is talking about.
Hey, WBOK, Ron Richardson here, host of a new show called Conversations with Ron Richardson. Join me every Saturday live from 9 a.m. until 10 a.m. as we sit down and discuss mental health, disability, drug addiction, and everyday life issues. If you're ready to have a real conversation, let's get it started, New Orleans. Every Saturday from 9 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here on WBOK and streaming worldwide on WBOK1230.com.
On last week's From the Press Box to Press Row with Donald Ware.
Jason Jordan.
Look, man, I was an Eagles fan long before I lived in Philly. I was like, if I went to school in New York, I was never going to graduate. So I was like, perfect. I landed in Philly. I've been an Eagles fan for years at that point. Philly fans are crazy. That's just reality. You just got to accept that. Philly's a whole other level. And you know what? We don't care. We're good with it. We know it. If you catch any one of us one-to-one, super good people, the best people, shirt off the back, help you out in any way possible. You catch us on game day, everybody catching hands. Everybody getting talked about. Everybody's getting bad mouthed. It's rough. I know.
From the Press Box to Press Row is one of the hottest sports talk shows in the country. Join Donald each week as he takes you on a journey through the world of HBCU sports and pro sports and interviews with top sports and entertainment figures. That's From the Press Box to Press Row.
Box to Row, Saturdays at 2 p.m. on WBOK and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com. What New Orleans is talking about.
WBOK online at WBOK1230.com.
The Arnie and Cary Show with Arnie Philco and Cary Grant.
All right, we
We're
are
back.
Was that
Yes.
was that an ad for Philadelphia sports? I mean, are you kidding me?
I think it was explaining the terrible fans that they have in Philadelphia is what it really was.
I mean,
They're pretty
the
bad.
city of brotherly love doesn't show much love to some of their teams, do they?
No, not at all. Not at all. They booed Santa and threw batteries at people.
So, Mr. Stevens, if you're still listening, given Mr. Elmore's call, I'm equivocating a little bit. So we'll have to talk more about this when I see you tomorrow night, okay?
And Gerard, I feel really left out because I'm weighing my options, and you didn't even bring up my name. I have the name recognition already. So
I'd like to
that's
spread
not
a
fair.
rumor. I think Cary Grant for council at large has a nice ring. Although I don't want to lose him in the radio booth here. So
well, like I said, I'm weighing my options.
all right, we'll have Deborah on in a few minutes, and
There'll
won't
be a
weighing
caller
it.
in a minute.
She won't be weighing any options. All right, in the few minutes we got before we bring our guest on, insurance continues to be probably the most important issue in Baton
Yes.
Rouge. It's very, very interesting to watch what's going on there because you have, notwithstanding that it's a 2/3 Republican majority,
Right.
and a Republican kind of MAGA governor, the reality is they're splitting on this issue.
Yeah.
And you've got the governor taking, I think, what he calls kind of a balanced approach, meaning that he's not favoring both either the insurance industry or the trial lawyers.
Right.
Okay. Whereas you've got the insurance commissioner very much not wanting to upset the insurance industry.
Yes.
And basing his position on the fact that if you don't overregulate and if you don't punish, more insurance companies will want to come in right in the state of Louisiana, and that rates ultimately will be low. And we're talking, by the way, largely auto insurance
Yes.
and homeowners. There's a third category, which isn't really being debated at the state level, which is flood insurance. That's more of a federal issue.
Right.
But it's really interesting to
Yes.
watch. And I don't know that anybody really knows who has the right position because our rates are still excessive
Right.
and very high.
Right.
So nothing's worked so far. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think the first problem I have is Mr. Temple, with being a former insurance executive, is kind of a fox guard in a hen house with being an insurance commissioner. That's problematic. But like you said, there's some thin line between all of the proposals that must work. I mean, but I don't know where this is going. I don't know if anything will come of this. That's what kind of bothers me the most, Arnie, is that this may go through a lot of gyrations in the legislature and not have any effect, or they may pass something. I mean, but this is one of those ones that could truly go either way. Like you said, even within their majority, they split on what works for people or whatever, but their constituents are hollering. Everybody, the people are on the same page. Something has to happen.
I mean, look, I think something has to happen pretty quickly here.
Yes.
And some that are more on the Temple side, for the insurance commissioner, have suggested that, the governor's kind of looking for a fall guy.
Yeah.
And that some of the legislation he's supporting is because if it doesn't work, he's not going to get blamed. It'll be the insurance commissioner that gets blamed. But I'd like to see us continue to do the things that we have direct control over. For example, the fortified roof program is something tangible. Let's fund it. Let's really fund it, okay, so that those that want to do it will have the money for it. There's been things like income tax credits, state income tax credits that we control. Things that are within our own ability to help regular people that are hurting right now.
Because what they've said in the housing market, which, is stagnant right now, but the higher end houses are selling because people are folding their insurance into the higher cost homes. But the middle class homes and the lesser valued homes, the insurance is knocking out even the sale of the home.
Yeah.
So what you're saying about the tax break, that's the group that needs a lot of help that can keep that part of the economy going as well. So those are things that you could practically do within the legislature that have nothing to do with the insurance reforms that have a lot to do with these companies maybe not doing anything.
Yeah. I mean, we seem to be trying to pattern ourselves after Florida. And, Florida has gone through some of the similar hurricanes and weather events that we have. But look, we've been at this now for a couple of years. Didn't just happen yesterday. And I can tell you our rates for most people in South Louisiana are not going down. And the number of insurers is still not significantly. It's increasing a little bit, but not significantly. A lot of people, myself included, we're with Citizens right now.
Yeah.
Really, which is higher than most and really not the answer. It's a bit of a burden for the state, actually.
Right, absolutely.
To have so many people insured through Citizens Insurance. But, it'll be very interesting to watch because I think of all of the issues that are being debated right now, this is the one that everybody is looking at and saying by the end of the session, what are you going to do?
You have to have some answer.
You have to have some answer.
Yeah.
And if you don't, I think people are going to start rebelling against the governor, against the legislature and stuff. But it is interesting with the political dynamics, to see the Republicans not in lockstep with a Republican governor.
Right.
This is
really
a little
aren't.
different than Congress
and
Trump.
This is very much, they can go rogue really because of where the districts that they're located in, some of them suffering really greatly. I think those districts, particularly toward the coastline and everything, are going to really be ready to vote for anything. They don't care what doesn't work because their constituents are really screaming at this point. And one thing I just wanted to point this out was, as I said before, I was just in Los Angeles, and what's really interesting in California, as with Florida, as with all the states, the fires have changed the outlook in Los Angeles and California about insuring. I mean, I'm telling you, because people have not been prepared for how they really deal with their insurance companies. This is a big urban area. It's not up in the hills anymore. I mean, this is what's happening in the city. So there's lots of people who are really dealing with things we dealt with post Katrina of insurance companies not wanting to pay and having all these different reasons why it didn't cover you and all that, and the rates going through the roof. I mean, it's something that I think nobody's prepared for. But when you have that thing that shifts the balance with a big natural disaster, it changes everything about the insurance world.
I mean, I will say this. I think one of the answers potentially, and again, we'd have to get our federal government together and actually supportive, but enough states now have gone through disasters. I mean, you look at Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee,
right?
Et cetera. Maybe there's a backstop there federally. On at least homeowners. Auto insurance, I think, is much more difficult. But
right.
on homeowners, where, maybe that first layer is covered by the federal government, or, maybe, or just the opposite. Maybe it's the excess layer so that the insurance company knows that they're not going to get hit with catastrophic amounts of claim. Maybe there's some balance like that.
A few years back, I was actually roommates with the guy who ran the National Flood Insurance Program at a class at Harvard. And the guy, really, we talked about the idea of what we call disaster insurance, for lack of a better word, because there were so many different kinds of things that happened around the country that were natural disasters, and sort of related to what you're saying, Arnie, about the level of help that might be like a first tier help, which, as you talk about not having FEMA and not having some of the things that are in place now, that could be a stopgap measure. If you want to get rid of FEMA, have something that people can relate to. I mean, I know people are not going to just say, we don't want any disaster relief. And that's great.
Well, we'll continue to follow the story. There's many more bills to be debated at committee in the House and the Senate still. But we're going to transition here, okay? Because we have as a guest in studio tonight, Mr. Alex Vergara from the great city of Orlando. Alex, how are you?
What's up, Arnie? I've had this date on my calendar for over a year.
Oh, my God. You don't have much of a life, do you?
Well, we promised we were going to come last year,
Yeah.
and something came up at the last minute, and we were going to celebrate my better half's retirement here for the first jazz festival for us, and we're going to see behind the scenes and see a lot of different things and some good music and some good food, and we love your airport.
Great airport.
When I
That's a
came
nice
in,
airport.
I saw the sign where everyone comes to celebrate.
Yes.
What a great mantra for a city.
Absolutely.
That's so true.
Absolutely. It's a great open door to the city.
Absolutely.
It really is.
So
And coming from you as a marketing guy, that means a lot to the city.
yeah. Where speak, right? But it absolutely was a great start to the day, and great meeting your family and having fun. We're going to go eat some good food after this. And you guys were talking about a lot of important stuff, right? Now we're just going to flip the whole thing, just talk about the games we play, right? Our careers, right?
That's what New Orleans is. We party and take that seriously, and then we do the serious stuff, and sometimes take that seriously. But
sports is in our blood.
It is in our blood.
Absolutely.
So Alex and I started together. How many years ago? 35 years?
1991, almost 35 years.
Almost 35 years. Alex was part of the Continental Basketball Association as the vice president of marketing. The CBA, we've talked about it in the past, back then was the NBA's official developmental league, and came to Denver. And, man, we had a lot of fun. We had one of the most powerhouse offices of people that went on in their careers to different professional sports positions, high-level sports. But that was pretty fun, wasn't it, Al?
We had top-tier one talent, all getting started, all getting beat up by the owners, and we cut our teeth and doing a lot of different